Ryan proposed, it felt like something out of a romantic drama. Private chef, rooftop lights, a jazz quartet. He cried when he asked. I said yes through happy tears. We'd known each other for 4 years. He was quiet, kind, reliable, not the loudest man in the room, but always the most thoughtful. I met his family. He met mine. We moved in together after a year. There were little quirks. He didn't like loud noises. He never watched romantic comedies. He hated Halloween. I chalked it up to taste. We were solid, safe, simple. That's what I thought. Ryan rarely spoke of his ex-wife. All I knew was that her name was Elle. She died in a car crash, and they were married for 3 years. She was my first love, he once said quietly, but the pain is in the past now. I never pushed. Death is complicated. When I asked for photos, he just said, I don't keep any. So I respected it, because love is trust. Our wedding was 3 weeks away. Everything was nearly ready. Venue booked. Dress altered. My Pinterest board was becoming real life. His groomsmen were flying in from Australia. His mom was planning a surprise dance with him. He seemed distracted lately, a little more withdrawn. I blamed stress. I had no idea it was something else. It was a Friday afternoon. I came home early with lemon cupcakes from the bakery we loved. I let myself in. He was in the upstairs bathroom. The door was open. The mirror was foggy. He was standing with his back to the door, shirt off. I paused. There was ink. Lots of it. Fresh. Red. A tattoo. Not just a design. A face. Her face. Elle. I knew it was her because I'd seen her once, in an old funeral program in his desk drawer. This tattoo was a haunting replica. Realistic, centered, framed with roses, directly over his heart. I dropped the box of cupcakes. He turned around, saw me, smiled, like nothing happened, like this was normal. You got a tattoo of your dead wife. He shrugged. It's not that deep. Ryan, why? She was part of me. Always will be. It doesn't mean anything against you. But your chest? She loved being close to my heart. He laughed. As symbolic as it gets, huh? My silence stretched so loud, even he couldn't ignore it. You'll get used to it, he said softly. That night, I didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't cry. I lay awake. He snored beside me. Elle's smile pressed against the sheets. The next morning, while he was still asleep, I packed my essentials. My birth certificate, my laptop, my passport. I called the venue, canceled everything under my name, sent a message to my bridal party. I'm okay, just not going through with it. No explanations, no drama. I left the ring on his pillow, with a note that read, She can plan your next wedding. 100 guests arrived. They found locked doors. And one single sign, wedding canceled. The groom can't move on. I didn't answer. Not once. Every voicemail, the same script. Please, it's just ink. It doesn't mean anything. But ink never lies. People do. He sent a long message. Told me I was being dramatic. Said Elle would have loved me. He really said that. As if I was dating them both. He didn't send flowers. He sent a letter, 12 pages, handwritten, laced with guilt, but no real remorse. It ended with, I thought you were stronger than this. They always mistake silence for weakness, but silence is strategy. I wasn't done, just waiting. Weeks later, I went back for my things. His closet was open. At the back, hidden behind winter coats, her journal, Elle's. I read one entry, then another. She wrote of his moods, his possessiveness, the charm that turned cold, the patterns. Her last entry, if anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. It'll be Ryan, and no one will believe it. Elle didn't just die. She died in a crash he survived, and he never told me that. Never mentioned she was driving. Never mentioned she had bruises on her wrists. I called his best man, Jono. He was drunk, loose-lipped, said Ryan changed after Elle, got obsessive, controlling. Jono tried to warn her, but she was already married. I watched the tattoo in my mind. It started looking less like a tribute and more like a trophy. He kept a safe behind the bookshelf. I knew the code. Her birthday. Inside, wedding memorabilia, a thumb drive, and a copy of my birth certificate. On the drive, my hands shook. I plugged in the drive. There were folders, L, us, and one labeled, Backup Wife. I clicked. Recordings, private moments, L crying, L begging, L packing a bag, him standing in the doorway, smiling. One video was labeled, The Last Time She Tried to Leave. I couldn't finish it. Her scream was too real. He tattooed her over his heart, but I think it was to cover something else, a wound, or a guilt he was proud of. I brought the journal, the drive. They said it was circumstantial. No solid proof, just emotion, just a dead woman and a runaway bride. A silver sedan outside my new place, parked, idle, every day. Then it followed me, to the cafe, to the store, to my friend's place, slipped under my door. No return address. Inside, a photo of me sleeping and a note. She watched me too. I couldn't breathe. Changed my locks, bought a knife, started sleeping with a chair against the door. She said she was getting threatening emails, that someone sent her parts of my journal entries, ones I never shared. Only one person could have found those. At a hidden sleeve, a micro SD card, labeled insurance. On it, audio recordings. She recorded everything. Arguments, threats. One clip chilled me.
I'll keep you with me forever, even if it kills you.
He wasn't being poetic. He was making a promise. I tracked down Elle's college roommate. She cried when she heard my story. Said Elle always feared she'd disappear into him. She did, in ink. If the law wouldn't help me, then I'd do it my way. Quietly, smart, untraceable. I hired someone, a hacker. He found Ryan's private cloud, found an account under a fake name, with hundreds of files, not just Elle, others. Photos, messages, tattoo designs. They all looked alike. We all looked alike. Engagement, isolation, tattoo, disappearance. Every woman followed the same path. Elle was just the one who made it to a grave. I changed my hair, my walk, my voice. Then I booked a session with the same tattoo artist. I needed a meeting. He hesitated, said Ryan brought references, said he wanted Elle immortalized, said he was too specific, too controlling. She opened the door and stared too long. Elle? She whispered. I wasn't Elle, but I looked like her. She knew something. She always had. The code in Badio, in her basement, a locked trunk, photos, Elle's wedding dress, her phone, her journal, the original. It never left the house. He lied. I returned home. Everything was gone. Laptop, hard drives, Elle's journal, and the photo of me sleeping, now burnt. He was waiting inside, calm, smiling, wearing the ring I left him. You were always meant to finish her story, he whispered. He reached into his jacket, but I reached faster, buried the blade where Elle's face would have been. His blood spilled across her eyes. I called them, showed the bruises, the stolen property, the recordings. The knife was clean, but the story wasn't. It took 9 months. His defense painted him as grieving, too devoted to move on. But the jury saw the women, all of us. Multiple counts, abuse, coercion, unlawful surveillance, and suspicion in Elle's death, enough to reopen her case. The tattoo was removed in prison, lasered off piece by piece. She finally left his body, and I finally left her shadow. I wrote our story, Elle's and mine, titled it, The Ink That Spoke Louder Than Vows. I visit her grave each year, bring cupcakes, whisper, he didn't win, then walk away, free, alive, and untouchable. Tattooed groom sentenced for obsession and abuse. That's what they wrote, but no headline could capture the terror or the precision of his manipulation. He didn't just love her, he preserved her. I stood in the courtroom, voice shaking, hands steady. I told the truth. About the silence, the shadow, the ghost of a woman I never met who still almost ruined me. After court, she waited outside, trembling, eyes familiar. Elle was my sister, she said. I always knew he wasn't right. She handed me a USB. Elle was going to give this to police. but she died first. Please, finish what she started. Inside the drive, medical reports, a secret paternity test, and a message file labeled, "For when I'm gone." If you're watching this, he finally did it. She looked straight at the camera, eyes defiant, heartbroken. I just hope someone makes him stop. From prison, he was writing letters to women, strangers, offering drawings, his art. He hadn't stopped, just shifted. I told Elle's story. My story. Went on podcasts, TV, wrote essays, told people to look deeper, and never dismiss red flags as romantic. There were sympathizers, fans. "He just loved too hard," one tweet read. "Free him." Another posted his artwork like it was beautiful, like it wasn't soaked in trauma. They called themselves the Inked Ones. Women who wrote him, tattooed his face on their bodies, rebranded his crimes as misunderstood passion. After threats were made against me, they moved him to a new facility. Isolated, limited mail. Still, the damage had ripples. Not just legally, emotionally. I stopped being his almost wife, started being something else, something free. Sudden moments, shadows behind me, the mirror fogging up, an imagined whisper of his voice. Healing isn't linear, but it is mine. I was wearing a dress. He was waiting at the altar, but when he turned, it wasn't his face. It was Elle's, crying. Slowly, quietly, with a therapist who knew what trauma sounded like when it wore a nice suit and said, "I love you." Second chances became more than a name. People traveled to taste what survival baked. Cupcakes named after emotions, muffins with memories. Other women started showing up, ones who saw his patterns in someone else. We met on Sundays. We shared, we healed, from a woman in Arizona. She'd been engaged to a man just like him. She got out because she read my story. She'd been silent all these years, ashamed, grieving. She thanked me, said Elle would have loved me, because you listened when no one else did. Not of her, not of him, but a single black ink feather. Because some women don't rise, they soar away. One gallery exhibited his art anonymously. They claimed it was about expression. I showed up with a picket sign. Ink is not innocence. A DM. "You'll join Elle next." I reported it, blocked it, but I didn't hide. Used another name, created a fake romance profile, same patterns, same charm. Someone flagged him. He lost privileges, for now. The story became pages, then chapters, then bound. Elle's voice lived inside every word. She didn't die in vain. They made a docuseries. I stood on the red carpet, wearing white, not as a bride, but as the one who got away. They said he watched it in his cell, didn't blink, didn't flinch, just muttered, "She's still mine." I'm no one's, not anymore, not ever again. He knew my story, didn't flinch, didn't try to save me, just stood beside me and let me choose. On our third date, he touched my back, gentle, but I froze, because I remembered him. And Elle, and the ink. He didn't run, didn't judge, just said, "You lived, and I get to love someone who did that." Told her I was living, not hiding, not frozen. I brought her sister. We left wildflowers, different ring. No fanfare, just a quiet moment. A promise with no ghosts. Asked once, "Would you ever get a tattoo?" I smiled. No need. My scars already tell the story. I heard from a contact. Ryan was hurt, stabbed, not fatal, but damaged. Like the lives he tried to collect. One last attempt, written from the hospital ward. "I still dream of you." I returned it, unopened. They said it was a stroke. In his cell. No visitors. No tears. Just silence. Like the kind he gave Elle. They wanted a statement. I gave one. Some monsters die alone. Some women don't. There was no closure to find. Just dirt. And the silence I gave him after I walked away. The recordings, the journal, the videos. I archived them online. For every girl too afraid to run. Their scars, their art, their cupcakes. One had second chances tattooed on her collarbone, in Elle's handwriting. No veil, no guests. just waves behind us, and a simple vow, no ghosts, only growth. The empty wall above our bed, no faces, no ink, just warmth, just him, for women escaping. Named it, the Feather House, a place to land before flying again. Every year, I bake her favorite, lemon cupcakes. I eat one, then leave two at her grave, for her and for the woman she saved. Me. More drama. More twists. They wanted to romanticize the monster. I said no. I own this story now, not them. She came into this world screaming, alive, unbroken. We named her Hope L, a feather with a heart beside it. She said, "It's for the lady who helped you fly." She didn't even know the whole story yet. In classes about abuse, control, love bombing, gaslighting, Elle became a symbol, not of tragedy, but of warning. I stood in front of a room of survivors, read the first chapter aloud. They cried. I didn't. Used another name, created a fake romance profile, same patterns, same charm. Someone flagged him. He lost privileges, for now. The story became pages, then chapters, then bound. Elle's voice lived inside every word. She didn't die in vain. They made a docuseries. I stood on the red carpet, wearing white, not as a bride, but as the one who got away. They said he watched it in his cell, didn't blink, didn't flinch, just muttered, "She's still mine." I'm no one's, not anymore, not ever again. He knew my story, didn't flinch, didn't try to save me, just stood beside me and let me choose. On our third date, he touched my back, gentle, but I froze, because I remembered him. And Elle, and the ink. He didn't run, didn't judge, just said, "You lived, and I get to love someone who did that." Told her I was living, not hiding, not frozen. I brought her sister. We left wildflowers, different ring. No fanfare, just a quiet moment. A promise with no ghosts. Asked once, "Would you ever get a tattoo?" I smiled. No need. My scars already tell the story. I heard from a contact. Ryan was hurt, stabbed, not fatal, but damaged. Like the lives he tried to collect. One last attempt, written from the hospital ward. "I still dream of you." I returned it, unopened. They said it was a stroke. In his cell, no visitors, no tears, just silence, like the kind he gave Elle. They wanted a statement. I gave one. Some monsters die alone, some women don't. There was no closure to find, just dirt, and the silence I gave him after I walked away. The recordings, the journal, the videos, I archived them online, for every girl too afraid to run. Their scars, their art, their cupcakes. One had second chances tattooed on her collarbone, in Elle's handwriting. No veil, no guests, just waves behind us, and a simple vow, no ghosts, only growth. The empty wall above our bed, no faces, no ink, just warmth, just him, for women escaping. Named it, the Feather House, a place to land before flying again. Every year, I bake her favorite, lemon cupcakes. I eat one, then leave two at her grave, for her and for the woman she saved. Me. More drama. More twists. They wanted to romanticize the monster. I said no. I own this story now, not them. She came into this world screaming, alive, unbroken. We named her Hope L, a feather with a heart beside it. She said, "It's for the lady who helped you fly." She didn't even know the whole story yet. In classes about abuse, control, love bombing, gaslighting, Elle became a symbol, not of tragedy, but of warning. I stood in front of a room of survivors, read the first chapter aloud. They cried. I didn't, because now I cry only when I choose to. It had been 3 years. New life, new love, a daughter, a bakery, a man who never raised his voice. Peace felt like a foreign language I was finally fluent in. Before Ryan died, a letter was logged, sealed, addressed to my new fiancé, but it was never delivered. Filed under a different name. A name I didn't recognize then. The prison clerk gave it to me, said, it looked personal. I almost threw it away, But the name, Damian K. Maddox. I had never seen his middle name. He never used it, but the K stood for Killian. Just like Ryan's grandfather, the last name, they shared it. My heart stopped. I dug deeper. Old records, family registries, military files. Ryan and Damian were first cousins. They grew up together. Same summers, same uncle, same house for a while. And somehow, he never told me. I confronted him, held up the letter. He turned pale, said nothing. The silence spoke louder than screams. That's what he said. I hated what he became. I didn't know what he did to Elle. But if that were true, why hide the truth? He admitted it. He saw the headlines, the interviews. He recognized my face and thought he could make things right by replacing what his cousin destroyed. I had fallen in love with a man whose bloodline nearly erased me. Was this karma or cruelty? Elle's sister always said, "Be careful, the family is strange. They protect their own, even when they shouldn't." I should have listened harder. Elle wrote about Damian too. Ryan's cousin gives me weird vibes. He watches me like he's studying grief. Damian moved slowly, kindly, but it was too smooth, too calculated. Like Ryan, but smarter. I hacked his inbox. There were drafts, unsent messages, titled Project Redemption. Fixing her. She'll never know. Every touch I once trusted felt like a blueprint now. How long had he been pretending? Was it ever real? No note this time, just silence. I took hope, left the feather painting behind, and disappeared again. Please, you're overreacting. It was just a mistake. Deja vu. Same words, different voice, same blood. Contacted a cousin of Elle's. He confirmed what I feared. Damian idolized Ryan growing up, called him the real artist, said he always wanted his own muse. They never loved women. They painted them, branded them, claimed them, carved their stories into our skin without consent. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I looked at my daughter and chose better. Our conversations, our arguments, our texts. If the world wouldn't believe it twice, I'd bring the receipts. To a journalist, to Elle's family, to the survivors group. This time, the storm wouldn't hit silently. He was removed from every foundation, lost his book deal, his speaking gigs, his clean image bled. He found me, at the park, just stood across the fence, watching hope, then smiled and walked away. Not BA didn't matter. He was careful, never close enough, just enough to remind me. He could. New city, new job, no press, no bakery. Just a studio apartment and my daughter's laugh to keep me grounded. This time, not a memoir, a novel, fiction, but every chapter bled truth. She's the woman from the tattoo story. But this time, they whispered with respect. Not pity, not fiction free law. An advocate offered help. Survivors of digital abuse, stalkers. They trained me, showed me how to be invisible, not for revenge, for protection. Hope watched me spar and clapped after every punch. She'd grow up knowing her mother didn't bow. Big, quiet, loyal, named him Feather, a protector with soft eyes and sharp teeth. He went public, tried to flip the story, said I was unstable, said I had a trauma addiction. The internet didn't buy it. Women posted their own Damian stories. Different names, same playbook, same trauma. We weren't isolated. We were targeted, said Damian was being investigated. Digital grooming, coercion, false identities, maybe even linked to past victims. Different courtroom, same shaking hands, but this time I was louder, clearer, more than a witness, not change. With fraud, digital stalking, psychological manipulation, he cried in court, said, I just wanted to fix what Ryan broke, but he broke it worse. She whispered, he didn't win. Neither of them did. We were no longer victims. We were witnesses who lived. Was Daddy bad? I paused. Said, "No, baby. He just never learned what love really meant." And we hugged for a long, long time. A second location opened. More women, more healing. Each one with her own story. Each one heard. People protested, demanded accountability. Art was no excuse for pain turned to ink. Wanted to reissue my memoir. This time, with part 2, a second half. One where healing fought back. Not for the fame, but for the record. For the women still whispering their pain in bedrooms no one visits. Lecture hall, full of students. I ended with, "Some people love you so loud you mistake it for truth. Until it kills you slowly." Age 8, she stood on stage and said, "My mommy is brave, and I'm her feather." From them. Not from apologies, but from surviving. From thriving. From still waking up and loving. 2 copies, one burned, one buried. Both said the same thing. "You didn't destroy me, you sharpened me." Unwritten scars. Where women shared what was done to them and how they rewrote the ending. They wanted Elle's story, her journal, her voice, to be part of a permanent exhibit, voices that weren't silenced. Elle, the woman I never met but carried like a sister, who lit the way out with her last breath. For the first time in years, no nightmares, no footsteps outside. Just my daughter's soft breathing. And a tattoo no one will ever see because it's carved in survival, not ink.